You're tuning in to the Black Hollywood Live Network, featuring news, interviews, and commentary on all things Black Hollywood. Hollywood redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is Black Hollywood Live. Next, featuring intimate and in-depth interviews with Black Hollywood's next edition of stars and influencers. Black Hollywood Live. Hollywood redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host for Black Hollywood Live, next.
What's up? It's your host, Megan Thomas, and
what's going on, Cortez G. West?
This handsome guy here. And as always on Black Hollywood Live Next, we talk to those who are up and coming, those people that you need to be on the lookout for. And this episode is no different.
Yep.
You hear that music? Black Dynamite. Today we have on the show the executive producer and the head writer for Adult Swim's Black Dynamite. Give it up for Carl Jones, y'all. What's up, Carl?
Hey.
Hi, welcome.
Brace yourself, food.
Right. Black Dynamite. It's an amazing show.
Wow, thank you.
Not only that, but Boondocks, man. That was my show.
Right. And you're also the co-executive producer for Boondocks, right?
Co-executive producer, yeah.
I have a Boondocks shirt that I was looking for. I was gonna wear it for you today.
Really? I would bought it from you because I can't find them anywhere. You can't find them anywhere.
Really?
Like I went on eBay and they used to have a bunch of them on eBay, but like I don't know, like no one's even bootlegging them anymore. I don't know what happened.
Well, y'all hear that? You have an original Boondocks shirt, your boy.
Yeah, man. I'd like to have one.
Wait, let me get your number so I can make this happen.
So I can find it, okay?
I'll sell you this shirt.
No,
We're gonna go make some of them.
Right. So as always, we are gonna talk about some casting stuff, and then we're gonna get all into your business. All right,
Yep.
Carl?
Uh-oh.
We want you to chime in. We want you to know what you think about all these things. So let's talk about some casting stuff.
Okay.
First, we have Leslie Jones and Octavia Spencer. They have new roles. Now, Leslie Jones, if you guys don't know, she's in the new movie Top 5. Hilarious in Top 5, I must admit. But she's also on SNL. And she is going to be in the new Ghostbusters. The new Ghostbusters is all women, no guys.
Wow.
What do you guys think about that? Would you watch the Ghostbusters with all women?
It's interesting, so I would want to see it.
Yeah. I guess as long as they don't call the ghost spooks. You know, because if you have all these black women, Ghostbusters.
But they're not all black. She's the only black one. It's going to be Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy. We love her. And, of course, another fellow SNLer, Kate McKinnon. So these are all funny women, funny ladies.
Yeah, it might work. Yeah.
I think it'd be...
But, some of those movies, like, you don't really want to see a remake of, though. Or
right.
It's like the classic one.
Right, right.
Like,
she's supposed to be Ernie Hudson.
Preach, brother. Preach, brother.
Is that what it is?
Give me some originality, man. I'm tired of like remakes and stuff.
No, I mean, but I think that'll be pretty original. You've got these funny women, new age, they're doing Ghostbusters. I think it'll be good.
That's a whole lot of woman. That woman is tall.
I don't think anybody can get away from the forensic science of a woman. First of all, like ghosts, humans, and aliens. A woman will track you down and bust your ass, regardless of what you are.
And she's one of those. She's one of those people.
Right. Yeah. And then, of course, Octavia Spencer, she's in the new movie Black and White right now, but she's also going to be playing a biopic of a Jamaican nurse named Mary Seacole, who apparently had some kind of, she butted heads with Florence Nightingale during the Crimean War, which I don't even know any of that because I'm not into my history as I should be. But if there's Octavia Spencer, and I think it'll be good, it's a war movie, she's got to pull off being a Jamaican nurse. Oh, no.
That's interesting.
Right.
But she's a good actress regardless, so I think she can play anything.
I think she can do it. Yeah. So, and then she's going to be teaming back up with Brunson Green, who produced The Help. So it's kind of like,
wow.
It's kind of recycle people.
What did you think about The Help?
Man. I think it feels like white people are still making money off of slavery, and I know The Help is a few years after slavery, right. but just the whole idea of like The Help and the butler and 12 Years a Slave, and it's like, haven't you made enough off of our help that you're now recycling that story and telling it and actually having us pay for the story? I think they're going to actually create like a genre for slave epics. I think, or help black made epics. Because it's, right. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, because Only because these kind of movies win so many awards and they're nominated for so many things, and there's so many classic stories that are being told that don't have to do with slavery involving black people, but they just don't get the same type of recognition. Right. You know, I think Denzel Washington's performance in Malcolm X is probably one of the best performances I've seen anybody do, white or black, ever. You know, but Training Day was recognized for.
Yeah, on the flip
side. When he played, you know. So I don't know. It's weird, you know.
Right. Do you not watch certain movies because whoever directed it or produced it? Do you I'm not going to see that? I don't like it.
Well, you know, for me, I don't know. I enjoy bad movies just as much as I enjoy good movies, and it sounds weird, but I almost feel better about myself when I see people do bad shit. You know, so I would, and nothing against Tyler Perry because you know I actually have a lot of respect for him, what he's doing, but I don't know. I kind of get something out of seeing what's happening on both sides, like the stuff that I don't quite appreciate artistically, and the stuff that I do appreciate. You know, I guess they both help to bring me up when I think I'm not good enough, and then push me down when I think I am doing it. You know,
that makes sense.
Doing too much. So
you know. Keep you in check.
Yeah, it's kind of right in the middle. You know,
right. So let's talk about some music news. So you should be watching the upcoming Grammys coming up on February 8th because there's supposed to be a special appearance by Rihanna, Paul McCartney, and Kanye.
4-5 Seconds.
Yes, 4-5 Seconds. That's a new song by Rihanna that features both Kanye and Paul. And they're supposed to be on the Grammy stage performing, which is really, really huge. I like the song. Have you heard the song, Carl?
I haven't heard it.
I just heard it for the first time yesterday.
It just dropped last weekend. It's really, really, it's a good song, especially the fact that you have Paul McCartney getting on this song. Now, I love the fact that, you know, I respect Kanye. As crazy as he is and has become in more recent history, I love the fact that he can still put out a good song, especially with somebody as crazy as Rihanna, and then you got Paul McCartney on this side.
Right.
Bringing them together. That's only Kanye could do something. He could broker a deal like that.
That is true. That is true.
Right.
I'm just intrigued only because of Paul McCartney. Honestly, I would never pair that together. I mean, it's a cool song, but I think the song was about
going off on somebody.
I'm about to go off on you seconds before I pop off on you. I'm like, people.
Well, at least we get to hear him doing music. Because I mean, so much of what we hear about Kanye is you know, it's always he slaps a cameraman or he's yelling at Sway. But I mean, I just want to hear Kanye do music. He's a
amazing
brilliant artist. You know, so that's good.
I wouldn't have picked this song for Paul McCartney though. I did when I heard it, and I was like, oh, because I was like, what's 4-5 seconds? And then when Rihanna sings the hook, she's like, basically, I only got 4 or 5 seconds before I go off on you.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, oh, Paul McCartney's on this song? There was no other song, no other content.
And love.
I mean, you should. He's a Beatle. You know what I mean? You gotta step your game up for a Beatle.
Maybe he felt like I'm tired of that peace stuff, man. Nobody else doing it, so shit.
Paul got a little ratchet, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little late for Rihanna to go off on somebody if she's gonna go off on some.
Don't go there, because I knew it.
I don't even believe that you go off on anybody.
Well, speaking of nets,
Solange now. On the other hand, Solange go off.
Yeah, and maybe she should have been in 4-5 seconds.
No, hers is 1 to 2 seconds.
Right. Shoot the whole video in the elevator.
She likes to fight in small spaces.
Right.
But speaking of nets, the next big thing that we always like to talk about, of course, on this show is, of course, to me, Black Dynamite. No matter what season at the end, it's the next best thing to me.
Wow.
But it's the remake of the 2009 original movie, right? Black Dynamite, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Not a remake, but it's an extension of. I say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you say extension, you mean you kind of you're on the edge by your creativity onto it.
Well, I mean, it's the same characters, but it's kind of a different beast. The movie made fun of the bad movie making of the 70s with blaxploitation, whereas the show it's set in the 70s and it has a feel of the blaxploitation genre, but we don't do boom mic jokes or or shots not hooking up and the tear in this eye and one shot and the tear. And if you try to do those kind of jokes in animation, it would just look like we fucked up.
Right, yeah, it does, right.
So I had to approach it from a different angle and just try to find you know, I found the most interesting characters in the movie, and I put them together as kind of this dysfunctional family, and started to build stories around that, you know, as opposed to it being a joke about the genre. You know what I mean?
So were you watching the movie and you just like, man, I want to make fun of this movie. I want to like do an animation of this movie.
Kind of, you know. It was during the third season of the Boondocks, and I got a hold of a bootleg copy of the movie, and I remember watching it thinking, yo, this would really, really be a cool animated show, you know. And coincidentally, I swear to you, like 3 weeks later, my manager called me and said, hey, the Black Dynamite people wanted to meet with you. So I sat down with them and acted like I never saw the movie because it wasn't out yet. So I said, like, started watching, like, oh, that's hilarious. You know, but so afterwards they were like, you know, see if you can come up with an idea for a show. And I'm like, all right, I'll think about it. But I already had it in my head. Yeah. So I met with Michael Jai White and, you know, Tommy and Byron Menz, and, you know, we started putting some ideas together, and it came together.
How did some of the voice characters come together, like Kim Whitley, Byron Menz, Tommy Davidson?
Well, you know, they were in the movie, so I just wanted to keep it really true to those, you know, those actors. And you know, it's funny because when I'm writing for them, I don't really think like what would Honeybee do or what would Black Dynamite do. I think like what would Michael Jai White say here? Yeah. You know, how would Tommy Davidson handle the situation? Because the characters are so close to their real personalities. Right. It's scary. Right. You know, and I think that's what gives the show a certain charm, because like Michael Jai White is like really that nigga. Like he is. He really is. He would really kick you through a wall. Like and it's very serious about his shit. You know. But funny too at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a really cool guy. I've met him before. But were they eager to say when you? I don't know. Did you call them personally and were like, you know, hey, I'm doing this animation. Want you on board?
Well, I mean, sorta. I mean, yeah. Like I guess it was kind of assumed that, you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would be kind of messed up if I went and like got like Cat Williams to play Cream Corn. Like, you know, I think Tommy would feel some type of way.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so.
That's like one of my best episodes.
This show is so hilarious to me because, and the stuff that you guys talk about, do you ever go, that's probably too far, y'all?
Yeah. Most of the time, yeah. I'm always surprised. And, you know, this season, I mean, we're always pushing it a little further, right? And I always feel like, you know, maybe it's okay to do this kind of stuff because it's on the air. But then we didn't get picked up for season 3 yet, so maybe it ain't okay to do this type of shit.
So how do you feel about stuff with like Family Guy in your shows?
I mean, I'm not like, I don't watch Family Guy really, but you know, I think it's a good show. I just, you know, I don't watch much TV, you know, and part of the reason why is because I don't really want to be too influenced by a lot of stuff that's on right now, so that, you know, because it finds a way to creep its way in for some reason. But you know, I mean, they have their own form of edginess, you know, and I respect what they do, and I love the timing. I think they have really great timing. Like everything is really moving really fast, and I learned actually on Boondocks. I learned Aaron Magruder and we were kind of experimenting with the timing of the show, and we realized that when you play stuff faster, for some reason it's funnier. Even if you speed up a voice, it sounds funnier. Like, so what we ended up doing is we would take the whole Boondocks episode and speed it up 10%. A lot of people don't know that. But after the first season, we were speeding up everything in the show like 10%. And it just, for some reason, it played so much funnier. Wow. You know, yeah.
Thinking about the flashbacks to certain things, like when Pops had a girlfriend and when he was running behind the car, I can picture that.
Right.
Sped up.
Okay. Well, think about, like, you ever see like Benny Hill?
Yeah.
You ever had, you know, the segments? It's like kind of innately funny about that for some reason.
That's
I don't know. It's weird.
Why was there a TV show made from Black Dynamite and not a part 2 movie?
Well, there's kind of a movie in the works.
Okay.
Spill it.
I just don't know where it's at right now. I know Mike definitely wants to do a Black Dynamite 2 or an extension of that brand that he's built with the blaxploitation movies. Like, it may not be a Black Dynamite 2, but it's going to be some type of blaxploitation movie starring the same people like they did back in that era. Like, you know, you'll see Rudy Ray Moore in all these different movies, or you know, a lot of these guys they just would take on different. It was the same guy, but like, you know, they would take on different. It's obviously Dolomite, no matter what. Right. But yeah, so I know there's plans to still do a Black Dynamite 2 or some other type of movie starring Michael Jai White.
Right, I want one that's like not animated. Like I think that would be so funny to see Cream Corn in his fullness.
Almost like Jackie Washington. Did you see that?
Jackie Washington.
Jackie's Back. That's the name of it.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh my God, y'all gonna have to see that movie. We're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, put me on to it.
Yeah. So my thing is, I look at your animation with Black Dynamite, and then I look at animation on, Family Guy. Mm-hmm. It's tell me, school me on what type of animation your type of. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I don't know why I convinced myself to go down this road of trying to do like authentic Japanese anime style shows, but because it's really hard to do,
right.
It takes a long time. So we end up having to do a lot of the production overseas in Korea, and even with Boondocks. I mean, we did a lot of it in Korea, and we did some of it in Japan, and part of the reason why is because it was hard to find artists that were trained to do traditional Japanese style in America. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot harder in that way, and also it's a little bit more cinematic. Like the storytelling with Family Guy is a lot more flat, and every now and then they'll do something really, like if they're doing like a movie parody or something, they'll step outside their normal storytelling technique. But for the most part, we're using like really cinematic shots, and we have tons and tons of scenes. For like on average, we might have about 700 scenes, 600 or 700 scenes in a show, whereas Family Guy might have 250 or 300.
Oh wow!
You know what I mean? Because the stories that we're telling, the scale of the stories is so much larger than you know what I mean. It's like the whole story doesn't take place in Peter's living room.
Right.
You know what I mean? So. It's difficult in that way, but I think that's the other thing that makes the show, I guess, a lot more different and unique than what the other shows that are on. It's just very expensive to produce, and it takes a lot of energy.
Right. What's the process? You guys write the story out, and then do you give it to the Japanese anime people and say, "Hey, put this together"? Because how do they get the essence of what Black Dynamite's supposed to be? You send it off to my people, to my Asian folk. How are they gonna understand how to like relay the story? They
don't understand.
Okay, so
they never understand. A lot of times what I would do is act the stuff out. I would literally act out. Like, I mean,
let me see, how does it go?
Oh man,
come on,
it depends. I mean, like Richard Pryor. Like we did an episode about Richard Pryor. I had to act out every one of Richard Pryor's. It's like motherfucker, and when I say this motherfucker, like I had to do all of that, and we sent it over to them, and then they would just the storyboard artists would use that as a reference, and I would do the same thing even if it was like a big black woman. I'd be like, nigga,
like the old lady, like
right.
So I would just have to act out, especially since it's the culture. Like this show is kind of like a subculture, within a culture, within a culture, and it's very, very specific. I mean, it's hard for even Americans to understand the type of comedy and stories we're telling because it's so specific to a very specific, era and time and personalities, and if you're not of it, it's almost impossible to understand who these people are and what they, so. That's the only thing that we can do, but it still comes back fucked up. It is still.
They sit it back and be like, Well, how is your, like, my thing is, you have in mind who you want to try to make an animation of? Like, for instance, for Boondocks, you already have like 2 little boys that was bad as hell, and you was like, let me make an animation out of this, and then you cast them as the voice of it. Like, how does it come?
Well, the Boondocks was actually, that came from the comic strip that Aaron Magruder had created. In terms of casting it, that was like one of the most difficult processes. It actually came, like, Huey and Riley they were the hardest characters to cast for. It came down to Alicia Keys, MC Lyte, and Regina King.
Wow,
right?
Really?
Yeah, we were trying to figure out. So we were thinking, well, maybe Regina King could do Riley, and we can get Alicia Keys to do Huey, and we was kind of settled on that. And then, Regina came in one day, and she was like, yo, I could do both. And she was just like, she started going back and forth between Riley and Huey, talking to each other. We were like, damn, okay.
Is that double pay or something?
Yeah,
she's a
definitely.
Smart hustler.
I love it.
But also she just captured the essence. You know what she did? She said that she went and studied like the old Peanuts specials.
Okay.
Because like even when you're doing a child, a lot of times in voiceover we use women because you know it's
softer. It's not.
Yeah, we use women instead of getting like real little boys because their voices usually change at a certain point, and then you're stuck with a 7-year-old that sounds like Barry White, and it's a problem. So she actually was studying really hard, and she came back and she just nailed it, and they sounded like brothers. So she would get in the booth, and you know, normally you would maybe go through and get all Riley's lines first, then go through and get Huey's lines, but she'd be like, nah, I got it. And she'll just hop back and forth between characters. And I mean, she's incredible.
That is amazing.
Really amazing.
Because
really amazing.
I can, as you're saying this, I can hear both their voices.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that too.
Yeah.
That's dope. Now I want to. Can I draw something? No, I'm just kidding. Do you have people that do that? That come to you and be like, so this is my idea of a cartoon that I think you should do.
All the time.
What's the worst one you've ever heard?
Oh man, I don't want to call nobody out. I just say the most common pitch that I get almost every other day, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, wherever, someone would say, "All right, man, I got this idea." And usually, in most cases, it's rappers, right? It'll be like, I don't even call nobody out, but like rappers, they usually say, "All right, I got this idea. It's me."
Yeah.
It starts with "It's me." As a kid. Like, okay. And then what? And it's me as a kid. That's the show.
Okay.
And I'm rapping. But
I like how we gave you a coaster and you playing with the coaster instead of.
It looks like a black. It looks like a burnt Eggo.
It does,
So
man.
almost ate it.
We said that before the show, guys, and he was just like, "Man, it's like a black Eggo. Let me play with it for him."
That's what we did with Black Hollywood with our Black Eggos. What's the big difference between season 1 and season 2 of Black Dynamite?
I think it's a lot more social commentary. I definitely think, you know, like the first season we kind of put our toe in the water, and the second season we just kind of jumped all the way in, I think. And for better or worse, you know, I don't know, because like I said, we haven't got a third season yet, and the show is being watched. The ratings are pretty good, you know, but I don't know. Maybe it's a little too controversial at times. Maybe. You know, maybe it's offensive in some ways to some people, but it's definitely a lot more social commentary. Like we had the season finale, we addressed a lot of police brutality that was happening in that episode. It was a 1-hour special called The Wizard of Watts. And basically there's a Black Dynamite takes a day off, and there's a riot that pops off in the black community. Black Dynamite gets hit with a brick and he's sent into this magical land of Oswatts, where we have a bunch of Rodney Munchkins laying on the ground outlined in chalk. And the idea was that, you know, they were under, you know, basically it was under siege from the wicked bitch of the West Side. and you know, so it was Black Dynamite's job to protect them. So like an episode like that, especially now, what's so eerie about it is this was written like 1.5 years ago.
Right.
You know, so I didn't know, you know, that we were going to be in the midst of all of this stuff happening. But so the network was a little bit hesitant on like really going full, you know, pushing it so hard, because they didn't want this to be our answer to this, you know, this situation that's happening. So, you know, and the same thing happened with Bill Cosby. We had an episode about Bill Cosby right at right when all of this stuff was happening with the rape allegations, and I was like, God, like and people looking at me like I'm Nostradamus or some shit.
Right.
And I'm like, who would have knew? You know?
No, it's just police brutality just happens that often.
Exactly.
It's just been going on for a while.
Well, are people raping people that often?
Yeah, apparently so.
Well, I'm no comment.
Does it ever get hard for you to create stories and come up with new ideas?
He just said he writes stuff a year ahead, so I don't think so.
You're in the moment.
You know what? It's hard. I put it this way: you kind of. It's easy to paint yourself into a corner. I'll say that. Meaning, or if you like, one of our first episodes that we wrote was a Michael Jackson episode, and it was where Cream Corn discovered that Michael Jackson was an alien. He was trying to impregnate Cream Corn. So that was like one of the biggest episodes that we did. And then you have to follow that now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's difficult when you push so far out the gate, and now you got to deliver each time at that level. That's what becomes hard. It's not so much as the ideas, but it's like, all right, now we got an idea. Now how do we take it here?
Right.
You know, and it a lot of ways, I begin to question, like, how long can you do that? You know, because and whereas a lot of shows they start really small with their stories, and the stories are very grounded. Like it might be like, you know, somebody, you know, left an empty pitcher in the refrigerator, and they'll do a whole story around that. You know, our stories would be like, you know, there's a you know, Elvis is sent on a mission to you know, to stop drugs in the black community, and he gets baptized, you know, by Black Dynamite's fist, and admits that he stole everything from black folks. Like those are the kind of but that's the kind of stuff I'll be wanting to say. You know, you know what I mean? So it's like I can only write what I'm passionate about. It's just hard when you know, you set a certain expectation, you know, which becomes really difficult to deliver all the time. You know?
Before we got on air, you were telling us where you're from. Mm-hmm. Let the people know what you said. Because that was like five places you named.
I grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, affectionately known as Vietnam.
Vietnam, where J. Cole is from, yes.
Right. But, you know, I moved around a little bit, man. I lived in Philadelphia for a little while. You know, a lot of my relatives, my mother's from Philadelphia and relatives from New Jersey. And, you know, so, you know, my father was in the military, so we kind of moved around. I was actually born in Germany, believe it or not.
Frankfurt, Germany.
There we go. Are you military?
Yeah.
How about I say, there's no other reason why niggas would be in Frankfurt, Germany, unless your parents was.
I know, right?
A couple Africans.
Well, they're everywhere.
Let's not get started. Let's not have a Black Dynamite series.
There's Nigerians everywhere. There's not Africans everywhere.
Oh,
there's
that's
Nigerians
true.
everywhere.
Nigerians are everywhere. Yes, yes.
So you've been growing up in these different places. There's a lot of your shows portray that. Like, did you bring a lot of stuff like what happened to you as a kid into your shows?
Yeah, and adult life. I mean, it's all, I think, kind of merged into this hodgepodge of whatever I am. You know, it's like I can't really help. I can't not write about my personal experiences, and a lot of stuff that inspires me is really, you know, I mean, some of the funniest people in my life are not working in this business.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm sure you can probably look at your family and I mean, you find some people that just gut busting, just hilarious, funny people, but they just never had any desire to be in the business. And you know, all of that for me is like, you know, it's material,
right,
you know. So I love going back home or being around my friends and people that I grew up with, because I'm just, you know, I'm always, you know.
Somebody gonna hit you with a suit. You better be careful. Uncle Jimbo.
I told him that. Give me some of that money. I told him that. Yeah.
Are you a comedian, or have you ever been a comedian?
I've never done comedy, man. I you know what? And it's funny because my manager was trying to push me to do comedy at one time, but I have like really severe anxiety. I have anxiety right now. That's why I keep playing with this fucking coaster. I
need to hold your hand. Hold your hand, baby.
Man, you know, I'm telling you, like, I have like severe anxiety attacks. Like getting on airplanes and stages, it's like I'm just the worst. Like right now, inside it's a mess.
Really? Well, go ahead and fart.
Yeah.
If you gotta pass some gas.
Yeah, I know. If you gotta go pee,
hold it
like,
against you.
That's a bathroom right there. But here's the thing, I must say, because we do our research here, we just don't have people on the show and ask you open questions that pop up in our head. Okay. We do our research. Mm-hmm. So, come on, you better say it, man. Mm-hmm. But no, like, I watched some of your interviews, and there was one that was, you've even felt uncomfortable, because I felt uncomfortable watching it. Uh-oh. But there was this one guy that was interviewing you and didn't say your name right. He didn't know much about. He had on glass.
Misspell Carl John.
No, then he said he gave him his wrong title. And then he corrected him when he gave him the microphone. But I felt like during that interview, I really did not get you. And it didn't get me that he wanted or knew who you were. Because he wanted you to explain to us who you were. And I was like, nah, bro, that's not. Come on, man. I don't want to call him out or anything like that. But I was like, you know, watching some of your interviews, you feel more. I look like you're more comfortable here right now.
Oh no, I definitely am a lot more comfortable here.
It's because I touched your hand.
Right.
Is that what it is, Carl?
You got that touch, boo? You got that touch.
You know, I got that effect on the
Right.
You still probably gonna fart, but it's okay. It's all good.
Well, I mean, you know, y'all make it real comfortable. I don't feel like I'm doing an interview. That's probably why.
See,
you know?
There you go.
We don't want you to feel that way.
It's cool.
So, has anybody ever come up to you, as far as like people at work or some of the higher ups, and said, you know what, you're gonna have to probably tone it down, or we don't like this, we need you to change this? Has that happened pretty frequently in your career?
Not in in a general way, it'll be like specific notes the network will have about certain episodes. Like, you know, like in the movie we had this character named Crenshaw Pete who used to brand his bitches with a coat hanger. So they said we couldn't brand a bitch with a coat hanger for obvious reasons. But I wanted to show a shot where a chick had a imprint of a coat hanger on her face, just to know that, you know, she was being motivated to do a job. And you know, that was something that they was like completely against. And just to give you an example, but the overall idea of it, they didn't have a problem with. But it's weird though, because some things they'll be really cool with, like, you know, Black Dynamite had chopped somebody's head off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this extreme act of violence, you know. But yet we can't show a puppet frog penis. Like, it's like,
wait, does the puppet have a penis?
Wait, what?
well, that was my question. Well, because we did a parody of Sesame Street, and we had this frog named That Frog Curtis, and you know, he was slapping people with his penis, but he was a puppet though.
Right.
And so my two arguments were, well, first of all, it's just a piece of fabric. It's not even like a real penis. And second of all, it's a frog. Like,
that is hilarious.
I think that, I don't know.
What does a frog penis look like?
You know, they have penises, but they only come out at certain times. Like, it's not, they don't just
Like
wear.
that, hey, I'm out.
Yeah, they don't just
Okay.
have, their penis is not, I mean, come on, they got more couth than they just walk around with their penis out. You know.
They gotta jump around. They can't
So
land
no
on it.
frog penis, but extreme violence is okay.
Extreme violence, yeah, so it's kind of weird, the standards and
Kinda
practices.
messed up.
Yeah, but you know, every episode there's like one, maybe two jokes or things that we're trying to do that they, you know. But for the most part, like, they're really, really cool with everything, you know.
So do you have to have a whole episode at a certain time, and then for the next episode you like? Because I know like reality television is filmed first, edited, and then put out maybe months later. So we're watching something that was already been taped. But in animation, like in your case, for, let's say for instance, one episode, what is the process for? I know we kind of asked you that earlier, but I want to know, like, are you doing the whole season at one time?
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 episodes in various stages of production. All in all, to do 10 episodes, it takes us like a year and a half. So that'll help you put it in perspective.
Whoa.
So you know, each episode, I don't know, it's maybe 7 to 9 months in production, but it's in, you know, like, while one is being written, one is being storyboarded. While one is being storyboarded, one is being animated. While one is being animated, one's being recorded.
Rotation.
You know, so it's like, it's a lot.
Right.
Okay. So are y'all celebrating after each episode? 'Cause that's a lot of work.
Dude, it's just trying to keep our sanity. Is like, it's people have no idea, because a lot of times, you know, when people see that, like even with Boondocks, it'll be gone for 2 years, right? And then people will say, oh, the man must have shut it down, the white man must have stopped it. Like, no, nigga, it just takes a long time to make this shit. It's like, you know, we've been working.
All right.
They think we chilling, like, you know, or,
Right.
yeah, it takes a lot of work.
How many people are in the room when you're putting this together? Are you writers?
Like the writing.
Yeah.
That varies too. The last season, for 2 weeks, I put together a writers room, which we never had a writers room. So I got all the funniest comedians that I knew, and we got in the room, and I had, I don't know, we had maybe about 15 to 20 episode ideas, and you know, I kind of gave them to everybody and said, you know, what do you think? And we all sat down and we started going through each one of them, and some of them caught on, some of them didn't. The ones that didn't, we just kind of put to the side. The ones that we thought could be something, you know, we put on the wall, and then we start fleshing those the story beats out. And once we have the story beats out, we work on an outline. Once we have an outline, we'll hand off to a writer, and you know, they'll do a pass, and then usually I'll, you know, I'll go back over it, you know, just to make sure the voice is maintained. You know what I'm saying? For the ones that I'm not writing, you know. But that's kind of the process for this last season. The first season, we didn't have a writer's room. It was just like, it was like 3 of us, 3 writers. And
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
3 people.
Goodness, on animation at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I question my own sanity often. Like, but it's rewarding, man. It's like when you see it, you're like, wow, I remember I was just thinking about that when I was sitting on the toilet. You know?
That's when all the memories come.
Right, that's when all your...
As a director, like, what made you want to like focus on animation, like, and not movies, or often, should I say, or not movies often,
like
or
people
plays,
shows where
like with
there's
actual
humans.
people? Yeah.
Well, I want to work with some real people, but I always just been a big fan. I mean, I'm an artist too, so like, you know, I'm a cartoonist, and so I've been drawing since I was a kid, and I just been a big, huge cartoon fan, like, you know, since, like, the Jetsons and the Flintstones. I just noticed there was no black people in the future and there was no black people in the past. And so I always felt like, if I had an opportunity to do some animation, I definitely want to do something that, that we could relate to.
So are we coming in 2015? Are we seeing anything other than animation from Carl Jones?
Yeah, I'm hoping to. I can't speak too much on it, but definitely, yeah, there's something.
Give me a little idea.
Is it more animation?
Man.
No, there's more animation.
Okay.
I'm actually.
But it's an animated movie.
Come on. We got. Well, I can't, man. I can't. But I will say that I am developing some stuff with 50 Cent actually in Comedy Central.
Nice.
It's an animated property with 50.
Yes. Does he have on that wife beater?
Hilarious.
He gotta have on that wife beater.
It won't be the same one though. He's gonna change it every day.
Okay.
It's gonna be a
All right,
different.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
Okay. But do you have any wants to go ahead and do a movie, direct a movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Movie?
I mean, I got tons of ideas, man. It's just, it's hard to get a film funded. You know what I mean? But I'm definitely working on it. I got a couple ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a mixed Korean African girl in there and a German African guy in there as well in that?
Well, you know what? There might be one now. There might be some room for
We
it.
some funny.
I see. Have y'all done any voiceover? You done any voiceover?
And a light skinned engineer.
And then a light.
Just like me.
Yeah. My voice, it's a little annoying.
Hilarious. Well, it's all about the funny. It's like annoying is funny.
Oh, I ain't hear the question.
worry.
I didn't hear the question. Was there a
Don't
question?
you worry. Don't worry. My comedy reel will be coming across your desk.
Hilarious.
That's what's up.
I'm so excited. You said you were a cartoonist, right?
Yeah.
So what was the first cartoon that you drew when you were little?
When I was little,
Like something that you remember that this was like something that you created.
a lot of naked women when I was a kid.
your
And you know what's funny? I used to hide them behind my dresser, right? And then one day my mother was like cleaning up. She found a stack of just dirty drawings, and she sat me down. And this was the most uncomfortable moment in my life. She sat me down, and I had to explain what everything was, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like this is.
What is it like? This
how
is
did you
a
know it? What
vagina.
age were you?
This is like...
I don't know. It's maybe 6.
Bro, you know about that at 6?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh my gosh, Carl, you're a perv, yo. You're a perv, man.
Maybe it was just there was one too many blaxploitation movies that I was watching, because I was watching that stuff at a really young age, and I was listening to Dolomite and Richard Pryor. Probably
Richard Pryor was like the worst.
Oh my!
Right.
And I was listening to that at a real young age, And it's probably where a lot of shit is coming from now,
Because wasn't one of Richard Pryor's live shows was like on a vinyl? It was like
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah.
on the audio, and you can listen to it. So the way he
He had a few.
the way he describes stuff, right? Yeah, the way he describes stuff, you can picture it in your mind.
Yeah, I sure did.
Wow.
Carl, you are hilarious. I never knew. Because, see, sometimes I be thinking that executive producers for shows are a little boring. I would hang out with you. Like, you're really funny.
Well, thank you.
Just don't fiddle with nothing. Then you're gonna make me
You
feel
know
like
what
you got to fart. Or something.
You know what I'm saying? Pass that gas, honey. Don't let that
That's what's up, man.
marinate.
Okay,
Don't let that marinate in your stomach.
I know, right?
Get it out.
Well, what can we find you on all social media? Because I know where to find you. We know where to find you.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at I am Carl Jones.
Oh,
ghetto.
Lord, the
sorry. I'm so sorry.
The phone is ringing.
Just black. It's just so African American.
Just black dynamite.
Yeah.
Right.
Just straight dynamite.
I'm on Instagram too. I am Carl Jones, and I'm on Facebook, but I can't remember exactly what
You can't remember the password?
I can't remember what the Facebook address is. I just got on Facebook I just got on Facebook like 2 months ago. So
What about Black Dynamite?
Black Dynamite, you can find. Yeah, Black Dynamite has a Twitter, and it's at Black Dynamite. Yeah, and there's a Facebook. It's Facebook /Black Dynamite.
So, and we're still waiting for season 3.
We are.
Yes, we're still waiting.
We can
I
put that
definitely
out
will let
there.
you
It's
know.
already out there. It's
We
on the
gonna
desk.
put
They
it-
just haven't got to it yet.
Okay.
He has spilled some coffee and he like trying to move some stuff real quick.
Well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And where
was
can
wondering.
people find season 2 of Black Dynamite?
Season 2 of Black Dynamite, I do not know
Netflix.
because they stopped airing it. after the first.
No, it's on
the website.
I mean, Hulu.
I think it's on the website. 'cause I
Okay.
looked
Oh,
on
yeah,
it.
it is on adultswim.com.
Yes.
It is on adultswim.com.
Adultswim.com
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah.
And where can we find you, handsome
You
chocolate
can
man?
find me on all.
With your beanie looking like
You can
Tyrone.
I was
Minus the
actually thinking about
crusty
going
lips.
robbing somebody afterwards.
looking
they're
like a
stereotyping
thief.
He
people.
kind of favors Chappelle a little bit.
He does, right. That's a compliment. You should
No,
be happy
I'm so
about
sick of
that.
people telling me that. I did not like that man. Do I have ashy lips or something?
Hey,
Well, you don't. Where can we
wasn't
find
gonna
you,
say-
Cortez?
Oh man, well, you can follow me on all social medias at Cortez G West. Make sure you go and support me because I will support you back. You can also find us support us on BHL Online. It's Instagram and Twitter. Where can we find you, love?
As always, you can find me, Megan Thomas, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Meg Scoop, like scoop of ice cream. And don't forget to stay tuned to Black Hollywood Live. You can always follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. Just search Black Hollywood Live, and we're there. Until next week, y'all. Have a good time.
Peace.
Peace. Dynamite.
Love and
From producers Maria Menounos, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in.
Hollywood
Redefined.
Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.